I'm Rebecca Hembling, the Head of Marketing and Business Development at Raise, and I'm delighted to be joined here today with the lovely Suzanne Dodds. Suzanne has been internationally recognised as a leader in the retail water filtration industry, founding Cola Cooler, which is one of Australia's largest water cooler rental businesses, and more recently, Complete Home Filtration. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thanks, Rebecca.
It's very nice to have you here today. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy at the moment, particularly with a capital raising. Can I mention that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's good. Suzanne, let's just jump right in. You started your own business when you were just 24, and over the last 2 decades, you've built and operated successful companies both here in Australia and overseas. How did you become one part of and leading such a specialised industry?
Wow, it has been a very long journey, as you say, 20 years. So when I originally did my economics degree, I did a Bachelor of Science at Queen's University in Belfast, and then immigrated out here with my husband to Australia. And from there, ended up running a business down in Adelaide, basically carrying out outsourced sales and marketing campaigns to large clients. So we ran a big campaign for the ANZ Bank, had a co-branded credit card at that time with Westfield shopping centres. So we basically handled all of the event marketing for them in all of the Westfield centres. And from there, we got into a lot of direct marketing for APT as well. So let me turn this phone off. It's just going to keep going. Sorry about that. Yeah, so from there I ended up, handling large scale customer acquisition campaigns on behalf of, blue chip clients. And that really was what took me over to Seoul in South Korea as well to work over there. We worked with LG Telecom. We did a big campaign with Daycom, who are a big landline provider over there. So really putting high performance sales teams and customer acquisition programs together was sort of what I fell into accidentally after, my economics degree. And really from there, when, I had Hannah when we lived in Seoul in South Korea, who was my first child, and then moved over to Spain after 4 years to run a business there, and had Joshua, who's my second child. And after that decided, no, we're going back to Australia. That's where we wanted to live. So we came back and sort of, had a bit of a sabbatical. We'd worked very hard for the previous sort of 7-8 years. So we didn't have to jump into anything right away. So we really just looked around the market to see, what is a great product that is not very technical, that we can use the skills that we've got to really build a business. So water coolers was something that, we looked at that time. And that's how I co-founded Cola Cooler. So it's basically a water cooler rental business. So we rented water coolers to businesses. We then developed a licensee, sort of like a franchisee program, and we expanded that all over the country. And so now Cola Cooler operates not just here in WA, over New South Wales, down in Victoria, and we exited that business back in 2017, and the new owner has since expanded up into Queensland as well. So that's really how I ended up in water filtration. Now 13 years in the water filtration industry, and along that journey had started to really get into water filtration, was really interested in water quality and what makes good water, and what makes bad water, bad water.
I hate to ask, was it the quality of the Perth water that made you look into that?
Yeah, it really was.
As a Sydney sider, that Perth water tastes just a wee bit different to what we're used to over on this side of the country.
Yeah. So it was a big gripe, and that's why, water coolers did so well, because it was like cold water, it was filtered. We never did the type of water coolers where you had to order spring bottles to get delivered, because they're obviously really bad for the environment. So we always rented the type that filtered the water at point of use. So, getting rid of all of that plastic out of the environment, people don't need to pay for bottled water. It saves them a lot of money. You don't have to have trucks on the road delivering them either. So it was just a much smarter way to do it. So water filtration, after several years in water filtration, sourcing filters from Asia and America and all around the place, you start picking up a lot of on the ground knowledge about what makes a good filter, what are the certifications that you need to get to make a good filter, and what are the types of contaminants that people really want to have removed from their water? You know, what you're probably tasting here in Perth is the chlorine in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And we hear that all the time. You know, people are not happy with the taste of the water, dries their skin out, it dries their hair out. We've got a lot of minerals in the water here in WA as well. So it's that hard water issues that a lot of people complain about. And so, you know, coming from that water source and in that particular industry, you get, you know, quite interested in things. And we were at a convention in Asia a long time ago, and we started to see these whole of home water filtration products that were, you know, being offered around the world, but no one was really doing it here in Australia properly. And so it was just ruminating in the back of my mind for a long time. And then at the beginning of 2018, I decided to launch a standalone business that just specialized in whole of home water filtration systems. So that's how I ended up in Complete Home Filtration. The parent company is Environmental Water Solutions, and we're actually working on a side project, I suppose, for want of a better word, and that's really where the funding from the government came in as well. So we actually received funds from Accelerating Commercialization to develop a product that I developed back at the end of 2018, and it was really just trying to address things that we were hearing from the market, people wanting fluoride removed from the water for the whole house. And at that time, I couldn't really find a suitable, safe product that would do it for those volumes. So I started to experiment with different types of filtration media that we could, you know, put into our standard system that would offer that. And serendipitously or accidentally or whatever you want to call it.
I like serendipitously, yeah.
Yeah, so around at that time, Erin Brockovich was here. She was talking about PFAS and, you know, it's per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And I thought, I'm getting with some of these media that I'm using, the combination of them, I'm getting some good fluoride removal rates. I wonder, could I get some PFAS removal? Because there seemed to be a bit of an absence in the market for a product that could do it. So we got some spike solution from a lab, started to run it through some of the prototypes that we had, and bang, it was removing 100% of the PFAS that we were testing for at that time. And that's really how the project kicked off. And we're now, you know, 18 months into the project and coming very close to the end of it. We've been working with some trial partners with Department of Defense, and the results are very exciting. So we're very excited for the next sort of couple of months to finish that off and to fully commercialize the product.
That is exciting. Suzanne, you've touched, when you've been talking about that, you've touched on the environmental impact as well of obviously of bottled water. And we only have to kind of look at the stats to see how, you know, bottled water, the bottles just don't break down in our environment, and then the impact they're having on the environment. You've also kind of touched on, you know, the logistics of delivery and all of those types of things. And I know that you are very passionate about the environment, and that is one of the reasons that you found this solution as well. What do you think needs to be done to shake up Australia's $681 million bottled water industry?
Personally, I think single-use plastic bottles, whether it's water or Fanta or Coca-Cola or whatever it is, I think it is insane. I really do. I don't think that there is any logical explanation for it, you know, especially with water. You know, we come across this all the time with customers that swap to Complete Home. You know, they might go to Coles or Woolies and they'll buy this huge big slab of, you know, single bottles to, you know, bring it and set it on the floor of their pantry. And the kids will grab, you know, 1 or 2 to go to school. They'll grab 1 or 2 to go to work. They'll drink it at home, you know, and it's just crazy when you think, you know, one family of 4 can be going through, you know, like 30 to 50 of these every week. It doesn't make sense. You know, where do they go? It takes an hour maybe to sip and drink a bottle, and then that bottle, how long does the bottle last for? You know, it's just crazy. So what would I like to see? I'd like to see them banned. I don't think that there is a logical explanation for why they're still on the shelves.
I wonder what it would take to make that happen. I know that we've had lots of conversation about that in our house, about, you know, the need for lobbying government and all sorts of things to but it's really about changing behaviour as well, which is quite hard. But obviously with products like yours, that's supporting families to do that and to consume in a really different way, which is really lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as long as people have good quality water coming out of the taps that tastes good and they're happy to drink it, they'll refill their bottles and take them with them. And, you know, it would be good if out and about in businesses or on the streets that there were a lot more refilling stations so people could just have their own, you know, refillable bottle and just use it that way. I think that's smarter.
That would help. We're going to change tact just ever so slightly now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Suzanne, you have been director of two very, very different businesses at the one time. So there was Environmental Water Solutions as well as your role as director of Kingsway Bendigo Community Bank. And you're a mum of three. I know that people are they want to know the secrets of how women like you juggle it all, and how do you manage the multiple roles that you play each day?
I think most women will know that you just multitask a lot of things and you're sort of running from one thing to the next, and you have to sort of get used to that and be okay with a certain level of franticness, I suppose, for most of the time, which then becomes the normal. How do you cope with it? You know, when I launched the business back in March 2018, I did have a lot more time on my hands than what I do now. You know, we've got sort of over 35 staff and contractors now working in the business every day.
That's fabulous. Yeah.
We're going into Sydney, going into Brisbane. You know, there's a lot going on with the defence project as well. So sometimes things do have to give. And, you know, I resigned from the board of Bendigo Community Bank up in Kingsway, just because I didn't have the time to dedicate to that role properly. You know, it just was getting to the point where I was too time poor to really give it the time that it deserved. So yeah, how do you cope? Sometimes you just need to cut and trim things at the side that are not essential, and focus on, you know, the main things that are, which is obviously family first and then business next.
I think that's an important message. You know, it's okay to say no. You know, we've got to allow ourselves to voice the no. And I totally agree with you, and love that the prioritization and the focus on what's most important is really key. But it can be hard for some of us some of the time. You've got a background in inventing, finance and marketing, and you're definitely a triple threat. How do you stop yourself then from falling into the trap of doing it all? Like, what's your process then of your decision making of saying no, and not kind of branching out into everything? Because I imagine that you could be quite easily pulled into lots of different directions.
Yeah, I think when you start a business on a budget, you have to do it all. So, you know, it is good to have the ability to, you know, do the numbers, do the sales and marketing, do the recruiting, you know, do the product development. It is actually an asset, I think, to be able to, you know, do everything or do a lot of things to a certain standard. But as the business, you know, develops and it gets bigger and you can afford to put people in place, you know, that's sort of the stage that I'm at now, where, you know, we've got digital marketing managers, we've got sales managers, we've got an office manager now. So for me, it is a little bit of a skill to take a step back and sort of hand over little components of the business to other people. But yeah, it's a learning curve for me as well, you know, to stand back and give over most of the control to other people.
Yeah, how does that feel?
A little bit nerve-wracking, but if you get good people around you, it feels a lot better. Yeah.
That's exciting though. That's a clear definition of growth in your business, you know, growing your team to 35, and I'm sure that will continue to grow as your business grows. So that must feel good, you know, reaching that milestone as well.
Yeah, it is. It's good, but it does raise new challenges that you haven't been dealing with, but it's just a different phase of growth.
Of course. Suzanne, you are a WITA Award winner, which is so incredibly exciting. Last year, you didn't win one award, but you won 2 awards. You won the First Among Equals Award and also the Tech Plus 20 winner. How did that feel?
I think if you ask anyone who was with me on the day when I won both those awards, I was completely bowled over. I couldn't believe it. I really was very humbled. I just read through, you know, all the different nominees before I even went to the award ceremony, and I was like, oh my goodness, look at all these women. They're amazing. All these scientists and educators and technologists. And I suppose for me, I fell into the trap of thinking that, you know, water filtration is not strictly technology. You know, of course it is, it's water filtration technology, but I just didn't even think I was a contender. So when I won one of the Tech Plus 20 awards, I was totally delighted. And then whenever I won the second award, I just couldn't believe it. It was very humbling, but it was really lovely.
Well, congratulations, it's very well deserved. Obviously we've got the WITA Awards coming up again, and what would you say to the winners of those awards? How would you suggest that they perhaps celebrate or relish in the winnings of that?
Oh, I would just say enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah.
I was actually asked to be a judge on the panel this year, so I have had the benefit of seeing some of the candidates. So there's a very the ones that I've seen, fantastic group of women who are all, you know, doing remarkable things in their field. So I would just say, just enjoy it, you know, bask in the little bit of spotlight that you get, and just enjoy every minute.
Bask, that's a nice word and a nice feeling. Suzanne, I hear that your ability to remain calm, and I feel that now while I'm talking to you as well, your ability to remain calm and manage stressful situations is one of your superpowers. Do you have for the rest of us that perhaps aren't quite as calm as you?
I don't know. I suppose it's something that's built through resilience is built through tribulation. So, you know, if you have had to go through troubles in your life or challenges in your life, you tend to sort of come through the other end and not really sweat the small stuff. So, you know, as you can hear from my accent, I grew up in Northern Ireland, which, you know, back in the 90s and the late 80s, it was a bit of a rough place.
Yeah,
you know, there was a lot of very serious stuff going on. So I think when you come from an environment where there's sort of life and death stuff going on, when you move, you know, further on into your adult life and things are challenging, but no one's going to die, you know, it sort of tends to put things into perspective. So yeah, I do tend to keep my head in emergencies.
it comes back to that focus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So finally, as a successful female entrepreneur, who inspires you either in business or life?
Inspiration. I get my inspiration from loads of different places. I think initially from my childhood, my mum and dad were very inspiring. They sort of ran businesses themselves, small businesses. We come from a working class background. So I take a lot of inspiration from, you know, their efforts and their endeavors that I watched when I was a kid. I take a lot of inspiration from my family now, my husband and my 3 children. They inspire me every day. You just have to look around. I was reading an article yesterday in Forbes magazine about the 20 top women in the Forbes list and the things that they've done to get to where they are today. And, you know, that's inspiring as well. There's lots of inspirational stories. I'm inspired through my faith as well. So yeah, I just no one particular person, you know, motivates and inspires me, but I'm very blessed to have lots of people around me that inspire me every day.
Suzanne, I think we've actually been very blessed to have you talk to us today. I've loved hearing about your journey, and I look forward to watching you as you succeed even further, and I'm kind of keen to know more about this project and see that come to fruition in time. Thank you so much.
No problems. Thanks, Rebecca.